everybody, it's Kaylee. I am back with another What Sold from last week video. I will be sharing with you a breakdown of how much I sold on each platform, as well as a total cost of goods. I will also share with you some of my favorite sales from this past week. That way you guys can know some brands and some styles to be on the lookout for while you are out sourcing.
Alright guys, so the sales that we are going to be talking about are last week's sales. That would be November 15th through the 21st, and that is a Sunday through a Saturday. So in total, I had a pretty good week. I sold a total of 56 items for a gross sales total of $2,008.77, making my average sale price $35.87. And then my total cost of goods, I know a lot of you have been asking me about cost of goods. I do share total cost of goods here. So my total cost of goods was $277.34. There were a couple of higher item sales, which I did pay up a little bit for the item, knowing that they were going to sell, and you'll see some of those in my highlighted sales. So that is worth noting, is that my cost of goods was a little bit higher than normal. On eBay, I sold 34 items. On Poshmark, I sold 21 items. And then I did have one sale on Depop, which I will show you. It was a pretty good sale. My gross sales on eBay were about $1,280. And on Poshmark, it was just $642. On Depop, I sold that one item for $85. My average sale price on eBay was roughly $38, and then on Poshmark, roughly $31. And that's kind of where I would like to be. That is actually pretty good for Poshmark. Usually I'm in the lower 20s range. So I'm actually happy to see that I had some higher price sales on Poshmark. So let's jump into some of the highlighted sales. I'm actually going to start with this Depop sale and get that out of the way because it was one I was really excited about. So here is one of the items I paid up for. I sold this Baby Phat women's vintage corduroy jacket. Baby Phat is not a brand I pick up very often. I actually went back and forth at the thrift store. Do I pick this up? Do I not pick this up? Ultimately, I decided to pick it up because of the style. I thought that it could be worn. It was really unique and could be trendy now. And I estimated that it was from the 90s. It gave me very 90s vibes, and it was definitely an older tag. It did have the little Baby Phat logo here. And corduroy right now, along with bits of fur, seems to be a pretty trendy style right now. So keep your eye out for that. So this is one of the items I paid up for. I paid, I think, $10.99, so about $11 for this, but it ended up selling for $75 plus $10 shipping. So altogether, Depop paid out to me $85 and then less their fees. So that was a really good sale. If your gut's telling you to do something and it's not going to break the bank, I'd say it's definitely worth it. If anything, it'll just be a lesson for you. This next one is a sweater I've shown in a recent haul. I absolutely love picking up Christmas sweaters during this time of the year. However, I am very, very particular about what I pick up. I've been trying to describe to you guys the kinds of things I look for. So this is heavily, heavily beaded. I really try to look for pieces that you can tell a lot of work went into them and that are modern enough that someone would wear them today. So I thought that this was really pretty. This is by the brand Design Options by Philip and Jane Gordon. With Christmas sweaters, there are only a few brands that I'd recommend looking for, but otherwise, brand doesn't really matter to me. If it's quality, I would say pick it up. I think there were a few beads missing, which you can see I noted here. Nutcrackers, definitely something you want to look for. In my experience, out of all the Christmas sweaters that I've ever sold, the ones that have nutcrackers sell like they flip fast. I'm pretty sure every heavily beaded nutcracker cardigan I've ever gotten or sweater I've ever gotten has sold very, very quickly. So this one did sell very quickly, I think within days of me listing. And I had this one listed for $49.99. And it did end up selling at full price. And it's been a while since I've disclosed this, but if you're interested, if I charged shipping, you can always look right here. So in this case, I did charge shipping. So keep your eye out for really unique, especially with nutcrackers on them, Christmas sweaters. This next one is actually something I picked up from another eBay seller, and I paid up for this item as well. I think I paid roughly $16. This is the brand Captiva Cashmere. This is a 100% cashmere kind of poncho sweater. I was able to look this up. It was called the Cape sweater in ocean blue. And most ponchos are one size. I like this one because normally picking up ponchos or capes is a no-no for me. Not a lot of people wear them, but this was rather modern. It could be worn off the shoulder the way it was cut, so I liked it and I picked it up. As I said, I did pay up for this. I had this listed at $49.99 and it ended up selling at $40, but it sold so quickly. It sold within days of me listing. So even though I was paying up for an item, I got my money back and then some very, very quickly. I guess it's just one of those things you've got to do your research on. All right, this next one was a great sale. This is an Eddie Bauer men's vintage military jacket. Eddie Bauer is one of those brands that does have a cult following, and they make very outdoorsy stuff. What drew me to this jacket was how grungy and distressed it looked. So normally that would steer people away. Normally you'd see something that had heavy wash wear or had a lot of fading and you'd run away from it. But in this case, there are some styles, trends going on right now where people like the grungy hobo look. This is also something you can look for in boots. But in these jackets, I think definitely, if they are vintage, can bring great money. So I took a chance on this one, and I did put grunge and hobo in the title. I think marketing it as that really helped to sell this item because it did sell pretty quickly. I had this listed at $49.99, and it did end up selling at full price. This next one is another fairly recent find. This is by Brooks Brothers, and this is a vintage robe. In the beginning, and if you watch this haul, I wasn't sure whether this was a men's or women's. Ultimately, I decided that it was a men's, and I included measurements. I had this listed for $49.99. Here's the Brooks Brothers vintage tag if you'd like to see it. It was all cotton, and as you can see, it was a rainbow stripe. One thing I would suggest, it's not absolutely necessary, but if you do come across vintage robes, I try to make sure that the belt comes with it if there was a belt. It's kind of a hard sell if you don't include that. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but I always try to only pick up ones with the matching belt if it does have a belt. So the vintage rainbow stripe, I think, is very desirable in lots of brands. I don't think a lot of companies put out a ton of pieces like this, so I took a chance on it. As I said, I had this listed for $49.99, and it ended up selling on an offer for $44.99. And this next one is a pair of shoes. I have had these for a little bit, but this is a brand that I enjoy picking up. The brand is called Earth Origins. I'm trying to find the... Here we go. It's kind of hard to see, but the brand is called Earth Origins. They make comfort shoes. And typically on the inside, this picture's upside down. This is a poor example. But typically on the inside, they do have the style name. So this one was called Natalie. And as you can see, it was made out of alpaca leather. So in this brand, I do like picking it up if it is a more modern style. And it's something I feel like someone would wear today. So in this case, these were a pair of flats. And they had a little bit of stitching on them. Made out of great materials. So I picked them up. These ones I had listed at $29.99, and they did sell at full price. I really like picking up flats because they are so easy to list and so easy to ship. This next sale I wanted to include because I don't typically pick up a lot of kids' pieces. I was actually doing an experiment with this. I want to get better about kids' items because I feel like most resellers that I come across are not in that section, and I definitely am missing out on some good items. So I'm trying to tap into that. I'm watching some Kitizen sellers, and I actually did cross-list this over onto Kitizen, hoping that it would sell there because I want to see the shipping process. I've never sold anything on Kitizen, and I want to do it at least one time to get a feel for it. But this ended up selling on eBay, surprisingly. So this was a Zara Girls Rolling Stones sweatshirt, and it had that flip sequence. So as you touched it, this stuff's been really trendy for a couple years. As you touch it, it kind of changes the color or the picture of the item. And with sweatshirts, sometimes I like to pull it up so they can see the material on the inside. I thought this was a cool find. So this ended up selling for full price at $22. This is a new brand to me, and I'm happy I came across it because I will be picking it up if I come across it again. The brand is Weldon. So the reason I even took a look at this was because I could tell it was made out of some better materials. So this is a very thin, it actually kind of feels like a t-shirt, and it's made out of merino wool and tinsel, but it's a shirt. It's not a sweater, it's a shirt. This reminded me of the brand Smart Wool, and it kind of is like Smart Wool if you're familiar with that brand. So definitely keep your eye out for Weldon stuff. They don't sell for a ton, but they have a really good sell-through rate. So this one I had listed at $29.99, and it sold relatively quickly at $26.99. All right, you guys know I absolutely love picking up this brand. So this is Torrid. They are well known for their plus size pieces. This was a size 5, which you have to go to their size chart and convert. And in Torrid, a size 5 is a size 5X in US sizing. Torrid novelty stuff with skull prints or different prints, but in particular skull prints do very, very well. Everything I've ever gotten with skulls on them has sold lightning fast. So this one was no exception. Had this one listed at $34.99, and it did sell at full price. Here is a Free People piece. I do pick up quite a bit of Free People, but I skip on probably 90% of what I come across. I try to look for unique things. If you don't know the tag, this is the Free People tag. This was a size small, and I like this one because it was very unique and artsy, and you'll see that I put artsy in the title. It was also made of wool and cashmere. This one sold extremely fast. I had it listed at $29.99, and it did sell at full price. The buyer did leave me the sweetest note, and they said, "I have never seen a sweater of this design. It is so unordinary, and I just love it. Thank you for having it." So if you're watching, thank you for buying it. If you've been watching my most recent thrift hauls, I have been picking up a lot of leather jackets, which is not normally something that I would do, but I've been coming across some really good styles, some really good brands, and some really good different types of leather. So this one is not a recent pickup, but it did sell this past week. This is a Nautica men's leather jacket. I picked it up because it was a bomber modern style. It was in really excellent condition. This color in particular, I don't know how to pronounce it, cognac, I think is how you pronounce it. Cognac leather, this brown color is very sought after. Nautica is a pretty decent brand to look out for. And then again, the condition and style was a big determining factor. I had this one listed at $75, and it ended up selling on an offer that I sent out for $67.50. So don't pass on the leather jackets if you are currently doing that. Obviously, don't pick up every leather jacket you see, but really do specific comps in the thrift store because you can make some good money off of it. This was a recent pickup. This is a Nike women's oversized cow sweatshirt. Cow, this neckline is something I would definitely look out for. It can add value to an item. So I mentioned before, I always look for the obvious logo, which is right here. This is definitely a more modern style. And this one I had listed at $27.99. As I said, it sold very quickly at full asking price. I need to hurry up. We've got a lot of items to get through. So this is a Pink by Victoria's Secret sweatshirt. I also recently picked this up. A lot of people pass on Victoria's Secret and Pink, but it's actually one of the top selling brands on most reselling platforms. So although it doesn't sell for a ton, it can sell quickly. So if you can get it at a cheap price, definitely worth picking up. So this was just a plain cold shoulder, which I think someone actually cut this out. I don't think it was manufactured that way, so I noted that in the description. Cold shoulder sweatshirt with the pink spell out. I sent out offers to watchers. This sold for $22.49. Don't sleep on this brand if you can get it at a cheap cost, like at the bins or at a dollar sale. This is Me Your Moo Moo. I don't find this brand a lot, but when I do, I get overly excited and I pick it up without doing comps. This was one of those things, but I did like the style of this. Typically, I don't like picking up sleeveless tops because they don't usually do very well. But surprisingly, this one sold really quickly after I got it listed for my full asking price. So maybe I priced it too low, but what I saw in comps was that these were not doing very well. So learn from me, don't get overly excited just because you find a brand that you haven't found in a while. This is probably my favorite sale this week. This is a vintage pro layer NFL Cowboys jacket. I get excited about this stuff because I just feel like I'm learning more and more about vintage, and I'm getting an eye for the things that are going to sell, which is making me happy, and I just like learning about it. I like researching the history of each piece. So this is a Cowboys jacket. From what I could tell, these more unique ones were doing very well. You can see from the material just how old this item is. Had a lot of great details. Color blocking in vintage pieces, I think, adds value. So I had this listed at $74.99 and I accepted an offer for $65. This is a Tommy Bahama women's linen dress. I was surprised to see this sell because it's kind of cold where I live, but I suppose if you're in Florida or California or something like that, you'd still be wearing dresses. So this one I had listed for $34.99. It did end up selling at full price. And like I said, it's just a Tommy Bahama linen dress. I pass on most of the Tommy Bahama I see, but women's linen dresses in this brand do pretty well. This is a really old item that I've had for a while. You can tell by the background that that is an older picture. I actually forgot that I had this. I picked this up because it is a vintage kind of like shirt jacket. By the brand Bell Shirts Canadian Camper. When I originally picked this up and looked it up, these shirts do pretty well. I think maybe I had mine priced too high, and that's why it took so long to sell. But I really like the color details, and this was 100% wool. Even though I think I did have it priced too high, it eventually did sell at my full asking price, so this sold for $49.99. This is a Torrid Birch women's sweater. I picked it up because of the brand and the material. This is made out of alpaca. This is the brand Torrid Birch. I find her clothing does not do nearly as well as her shoes or her handbags, so I'm being a little bit more careful about what I pick up in Torrid Birch, but the material made me think that it would be a good sale. So full disclosure, I am still awaiting payment from the buyer, so you may see this come up again if they end up not paying. Had this one listed for $44.99 and it sold on an offer to watcher for $40.49. This is another military jacket. This is by the brand J. Crew. You can see just how old this tag was. So as you can see from this and the Eddie Bauer one that I sold, I like picking up military style jackets in well-known brands. So this one I have listed at $35 and it sold for $31.50. Last item on eBay I wanted to show you before we jump on to Poshmark. This is also by the brand Brooks Brothers, but it is a more modern one. And this is a women's linen belted dress. This one I had listed for $39.99 and it did sell at full price. And hopefully you can see a theme here. This one and the Tommy Bahama were both linen dresses. I like picking up linen dresses in well-known brands. Okay, so we're moving on to Poshmark. I sold the 7th Avenue women's ripped color black sweater. I will show you the brand. Brand doesn't really matter to me. The reason I looked this up was because of the uniqueness of the sweater. It was kind of like a crisscross color block wrap sweater, and it was completely ribbed, which right now I think ribbing is a key factor. So I actually did specific comps and looked up 7th Avenue color block wrap sweater and found this exact one had sold on eBay for roughly $25 and it had a good sell-through rate. So I picked it up. This one ended up selling for a little bit more than I expected to. I have said in the past, but I priced my items about $5 or $10 higher on Poshmark to allow for offers. So I had this one listed for $24 or $25 on eBay, listed this for $29 on Poshmark, again to allow for offers, but it ended up selling at my full asking price with no offers, so I'm really happy for that sale. So even though something might not be a well-known brand, some things in certain lesser-known brands do have a good following. So I also put Harley Quinn here. Maybe that helped to sell it because of the red and black. I thought somebody could wear this in a Harley Quinn cosplay and bring a different kind of buyer. So just throwing that out there. This next one is another vintage piece. This is Petites by Fundamental Things. Again, brand in this case doesn't really matter, but I'll show you the tag anyways. It was super old. And these were just a pair of high-waisted Paisley pants in a kind of like corduroy material. I just thought that these were really cool and I thought somebody would want them. Here's a close-up of all of the colors. These ended up selling for $35. This was a Lululemon Pima Cotton Space Dye top. I've had this listed for a little while now. I think I had it priced too high. I ended up accepting an offer of $38. I had a lot of watchers, but whenever you have a lot of watchers and it hasn't sold and it's not a super high-priced item, I think that usually means that you're priced too high. So this ended up selling for an offer for $38. You guys, you have to keep your eye out for Coogi dupes. I can't tell you how many of these I've sold. I know I've been talking about them a lot, but keep your eye out for them, especially when they are in different multicolor. If they're just neutral colored, if they're like browns, whites, blacks, those don't do as well. Sometimes I'll still pick them up depending on the design, but the multicolored, bright, like primary colors, those do very, very well. So this one sold for $54. Again, brand doesn't really matter. I'm picking it up for the 3D knit. These are really easy to spot. So even if you don't sell men's sweaters, maybe you just take a glance down the aisle. You can spot these without going through the rack and do a comp on it. So I did put, not in my title, but in my description, awesome Coogi dupe. Some people might think that that's keyword spamming. I personally don't because I put the word dupe, but that is a potential suggestion I have for you if you feel comfortable doing that. But if you come across these, what you definitely want to do is put 3D knit. That keyword is absolutely necessary to get this item to the right buyer. So make sure you are putting 3D knit. This is just a bread and butter, but I wanted to show it. This is a Vineyard Vines men's long sleeve pocket tee. We probably should have steamed this garment before we took pictures, but it's still sold, which shows you how much of a following there is. So this is just a men's kind of worn in. I even put slight fading on graphic, extra, extra large, Vineyard Vines pocket long sleeve tee with the whale logo. So keep your eye out for these. They don't sell for much, but they do sell quickly. This one sold at $25. This is a really pretty Philosophy dress. Philosophy is not a brand I pick up often, but I picked this one up because I like this style with the embroidery. It was also a good size at a size extra large. And this one did sell very, very quickly at $31. Here is an Orbis one's top. Again, with the linen, this is something I look out for. One thing I'd suggest if you do have a linen piece and it's kind of blank is maybe use the word minimalist to try and sell the item, to try to promote it that way. A lot of these pieces also, this button up, you can see it's originally intended to be worn fully buttoned. But for me, I think someone younger is probably not going to want to wear it when it's styled this way. So I usually make my cover photo button down a little bit to give it more of a modern edge. So this one ended up selling at $29. This is a jacket by Lane Bryant. I've sold quite a few bomber jackets by Lane Bryant. This one is a lacy rose jacket. I don't know why the rest of my pictures aren't loading, but I'll just show you the cover photo. If you come across plus size pieces in Lane Bryant where it is like a lacy jacket, definitely recommend picking up. This one sold for $31. And everyone knows Lululemon. We've talked about it before. This one doesn't have a tag like the top did. It just had the logo on the back. This was actually kind of hard to photograph. It has mesh panels on the legs. So I basically just looked up Lululemon women's black mesh leggings, and I couldn't end up finding the exact style. Didn't want to spend too much time on it, so I just put in keywords. Listed for $55, and it did end up selling at full price. One thing I'll say about Lululemon, if you don't have the size tag, which you almost always won't, the size dot is hidden in different places, like pockets or under the cuff or something like that. So if you're unaware of that, I wanted to mention it. These also had side pockets, which really helped to sell the item. Okay, I have had a small basket of bras that I've needed listed for months now, and I just never got around to listing them. I don't know why, because they're actually really easy to list. So this was sitting in that pile. I didn't even feel like steaming it. I just threw it on the table and used Photo Fuse. And since then, this was like a week ago, I listed all these bras. Quite a few of them have sold, so I don't know why I waited so long, but this was in that basket. This is the brand Tommy John, which I learned is a very popular bra brand. They're very comfortable. That's why they have the Second Skin line. And this one was new with tags. This sold so super quickly at $35. So if you're not already in the bra section, they do really well on both eBay and Poshmark in certain brands. Particularly on Poshmark, I just have really good luck with bras, not only new with tags, but used as well. This is a pair of shoes I've had for a while, but I still recommend this brand. This is the brand Margaritaville, and they make a lot of beachy type shoes. These ones were just flip-flops. They were in excellent condition, and they sold for $35. I wanted to show this because shorts are still selling for me. And it might be a good strategy for you. A lot of thrift stores are probably trying to get rid of their shorts because most places are trying to only sell like sweaters and jackets right now. So your thrift store might be selling their shorts for way less than they normally would to get rid of them. So if you come across a sale on shorts where they're trying to get rid of them, definitely worth looking through, even if you're not going to list them until summer. I myself like to list things as soon as I get them, regardless of season, so I never hold on to anything because they can still sell, as you see these jeans here. So these are an American Eagle high-rise festival short. Looks like we forgot to put festival in here, but nonetheless, they still sold. American Eagle shorts do very well, especially when they have unique designs like this. And this is a pair of Sam Edelman booties. One good thing about Sam Edelman is under the tag. So if you just look on the inside, you're going to see this. You want to flip that tag over, and it's going to tell you the size, the material, and down here is the style name, which was Louis. And then you can do specific comps for that style. Sam Edelman booties do pretty well, in my opinion, depending on the style. This one was a fringe booty, and it was made out of suede leather. So these ended up selling relatively quickly at $28. These are a pair of 7 for All Mankind men's jeans. I don't pick up this brand very often, and when I do, it's usually in men's, and it's usually got a specific style name, which I look up. And some of them can do really well, but most of them don't. So these were the style Brett. If you come across them, I recommend picking them up. These ones sold for $31. And last item is this by Anthropology Sienna Bell long sleeve top. I knew the style name because it was new tags. I do like picking up Anthropology. If this wouldn't have been new with tags, this probably wouldn't have been a piece I would have picked up just because of the style. I don't really care for the style. But I did have a lot of interest on it. I pick up things with new with tags during this time of the year because people buy them as gifts. So this did sell at $29.
Alright guys, so that is it for what sold from last week. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. Drop a comment down below. Let me know how your sales are going for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.